Hi everyone, this is Chanel, Angie, Katie and Matthew, and we're doing a project on the Italian economy. Italy juts out deeply from the Mediterranean Sea, giving it strategic importance and enhancing its trading potential with Eastern Europe, North Africa and the Middle East. It conducts a lot of its trade with other EU members, but other countries like China and the US play vital roles as well. In general, major imports include fuel, motor vehicles, raw materials, chemicals, electronic devices and food. Major exports include precision machinery, metals, clothing, and footwear, motor vehicles, pharmaceuticals, and other chemicals and food. Foreign direct investment in Italy has been historically minimal compared to other European countries. In fact, for the past 10 years, Italy has been placed at the very bottom in the ranking of FDI to GDP ratio, with a peak of only 2.08% of GDP in 2006. Despite the skilled labour force and large market, the FDI has definitely not been maximized to full potential. The number one reason FDI is not maximized is the image of Italy as perceived from abroad. Italy is seen as a single entity, although there are significant differences between each region of the country. There is distant dualism between the north and the south of Italy, with the north thriving economically compared to the south. By comparing the FDI in Italy in each region, it is clear that it is not a normal distribution. Foreign investors concentrate their investments in the regions with higher production, development, and innovation, which has been lagging in the south. Let us take a look at the FDI distribution by region to examine this more closely. Taking a look at this graph from first glance, it is clear that there are stark differences among the regions. With Lombardy being the highest recipient of FDI, it is important to note that it is a northern region characterized with both medium and large enterprises and booming innovation. By contrast, the regions on the right side of the graph are practically at zero, and this is due to development lag in the south. So you might ask what the solution is to the abnormal distribution. The proposed solution offered by Professor Pascal Pazienza in Italy is both fiscal and labor reforms. Fiscal reforms are necessary to improve research and development in order to increase innovation. Labor reforms are needed to make firms more internationally competitive in terms of size. With larger, more innovative enterprises in Italy combined with the existing skilled labor force, foreign direct investment inflow is sure to increase. Italy historically has discouraged migration. For example, the Legge Bossi-Fini was passed by the Italian Parliament in 2002. It essentially tightened the norms for helping illegal immigrants, encouraged forced deportation, and made it much harder for illegal immigrants to even come close to entering Italy. It also set strict rules and requirements for the immigrant workers to meet in order to continue to work in Italy. The Northern League, a conservative anti-immigration political party in Italy, has committed to blocking illegal immigration and is quite vocal with its views that are at times demeaning and derogatory. More recently, in 2012, Italy has established a quota for the seasonal workers in order to limit the number of workers from non-EU countries. Finally, with the turmoil in places like Libya, Syria, and Tunisia, it has been forced to deal with more illegal immigration than in the past. However, it has attempted to deter migrants by doing things like offering the Tunisian coastal patrol equipment and money to keep better watch of immigrants attempting to cross the border and enter countries like Italy. Italy is known that it's unprepared for surges of these North African and Middle Eastern migrants on its coast, and over the past year specifically, has turned to the EU for assistance and guidance in the matter. One large issue for the Italian economy is the North and South divide. Historically, Italy has been an economically divided country. The South has a much lower unemployment rate than the northern parts of Italy. It is not surprising that internal migration has occurred from southern Italy to northern Italy. This, especially in the 1950s to the 1960s, when it occurred on a large scale, redistributed labor from where it was abundant and cheap to where it was scarce and well paid. Italy has experienced emigration as well, particularly in the early 20th century, as right now it faces more immigration than emigration. For example, continual poverty in southern Italy caused mass emigration between 1901 and 1913, mainly to North and South America. Half of the people who emigrated returned bringing money with them, while others sent back regular payments that contributed to the local economy. Italy is known for a strong sense of loyalty and family bonds, so it's not surprising that family members continued to help each other and Italy's economy even when they left. Italy doesn't have many barriers to trade. Its membership in the EU primarily accounts for this. EU members in general have a low average tariff rate and few non-tariff barriers to trade. Currently, tariffs on agriculture imports is Italy's most significant barrier to trade. However, in the past, there are many instances of a variety of barriers to trade. For example, the Italian government would offer subsidies to southern Italian firms, which was meant to provide a form of support and an incentive for firms to move to and help the southern Italian economy. It was additionally meant to compensate for local diseconomies. Moreover, much protectionism occurred in the 19th century. There was rise of the strong protectionist lobby linked to powerful steel and naval interests and intended to help cotton manufacturers as well as the wheat, wool, textile, and steel industries. Italy decided to join the European Union in 1999, and they are one of the first countries to make up the EU. The EU is made up of 28 member states, and all of them use the euro. The euro is not pegged to any other currency, therefore it is a floating exchange rate. There are some disadvantages to a floating exchange rate as well, and one of these is increased uncertainty. This is because the currency changes from day to day and causes a lot of uncertainty into trade. Another disadvantage is that the floating exchange rate is very much based on speculation, and this can often be different from the actual pattern of trade flows. At the moment, the euro is currently worth $1.37, which is a big drop in recent years for the euro. It has also dropped 15% against the Chinese yuan, 19% against the Japanese yen, and 9% against the US dollar since the start of 2010. All of this has occurred because the countries within the European Union have not been doing really well. Particularly the pigs. Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain have had huge deficits, and this has affected the worth of the euro. Three major international changes affected how the Italian market would shape, technologically speaking. The first was the introduction of the euro in the Italian market as the primary monetary unit. The second change was globalization, the integration of the real and financial markets on a global scale. Finally, the third change was an increase in information and communication technology, allowing for more communication and advancement in the market. The traditional industries in the Italian market, such as the made in Italy products, such as leather and textiles, are typically the greatest wealth-producing sectors. There was some restructuring in these sectors in the 1000s and 2000s, affecting productivity rates. Between 1980 and 2009, the contribution of capital deepening factors related to the capital-to-labor ratio outweighed technical progress. This is also related to total factor productivity rates. Most of this technical progress was expressed through new capital goods, making them an important component in capital accumulation. Failure to adopt new technology, especially ICT, which stands for Information Communication Technology, has caused sectors to have lower skilled workers and less technological advancement. Technological advancement would potentially encourage education growth rates and therefore skill levels. Therefore, this lack of advancing has caused traditional sectors to have to continue to be prominent in the Italian economy. This has restricted the entrance of innovative sectors and industries known as barriers to entry. These effects explain why total factor productivity and capital intensity ratios have decreased during the same time period. During the last 15 years, the Italian economy experienced a shift towards less capital-intensive techniques, which in turn reduced the efficiency of employment. Because labor skill is necessary in order to use ICT capital, this has caused a sector-wide distinction between skilled and unskilled labor. Skilled labor is typically needed to use ICT capital properly due to the need to educate the users. On the other hand, unskilled labor is hired, usually in the short term, to fill any gaps in production of an output. Therefore, unskilled labor is drawn only when necessary and is not an optimal factor. The last 20 years have shown a visible decrease in Italy's productivity growth rate. This overall decrease is primarily due to three factors. The first factor is the change in the capital mix, ICT, and non-ICT factors. The next factor is due to the overall increasing investment in traditional capital in classic industries. The third factor is the overall decrease in investment in ICT. This ICT sector has a lower elasticity due to the strict complementary behavior between capital and labor.